FPinfomart's radio monitoring service is generated using speech-to-text technology, which means that a computer listens to the audio broadcast and translates it into text. This can mean that you need to be strategic when setting up your searches and profiles for use with radio monitoring. I'm going to show you a couple of examples today of some of the ways where you need to be creative with your search terms when searching radio. We're going to use the Search Radio function under the Broadcast Monitoring menu. We're going to look for stories about the Syncrude company, which is spelled like this. If I search anywhere in Story for all the radio monitoring stations for Syncrude, we'll see if anything comes up. No hits. We'll check for the past 7 days. Still no hits, but I'm sure this company was mentioned on the radio. What could be happening? Well, it's possible that the dictionary does not include the word Syncrude, and to the computer this sounds like something else. So we're going to try and think about words that sound like Syncrude that the speech-to-text engine may interpret as saying Syncrude. For example, Syncrude, Syncrude, and a variation on this, Syncrude. Let's run this search and see if we come up with any hits. We've got one for today, and in the past 2 weeks we'll add a second hit. As you can see, as we expected, Syncrude is how the computer interpreted the spoken word Syncrude. Let's look at another example. We're going to search radio again, and we're going to look for Toronto mayoral candidate George Smitherman. Let's see if we get any hits on the correct spelling of his name. We have none. What we're going to do now is we're going to look for George, and then we'll do the prefix Smith with the asterisk as our wildcard character. In case there's any other George Smiths or other variations out there, we're going to use the and require box to only look for stories that mention mayor or Toronto. Now when we run our search, we will get some relevant content, and we will be able to see some of the ways the speech-to-text engine has interpreted the speaking of George Smitherman's name. Here's George Smith Ameni, George Smith Lyman, George Smith Inman, and so on. George Smith Aaron. So you can see that you have to be creative and use wildcards and variations on the names and try and think of the way the computer may interpret the spoken word when setting up your searches in radio monitoring. Sit down and brainstorm how this may happen, run some test searches, and you'll get much more precise hits. Hope this has been helpful.